eigenaar van kun je dit vaststellen.
Thank you. Let me see first if I can activate the button, this thing. Can you hear me? Yes. All right, sounds good. So I also start with a question. Do you know this person? Please show me if you know this person. I'm not obscuring it on purpose. Yeah? By the way, the test is designed for you to fail, because this is a computer scientist from the 1980s, working in Russia, right, of all places in the world. His name is Alex, just like me, but this guy actually had an idea that was really influential. How many of you know this? Yeah? This is Tetris. For those who don't know what Tetris is, it's a puzzle game, and it uses mathematical shapes to cover some space, some box, right? And nobody knew it at the time. Again, it was early 1980s when this was invented, but this became one of the most influential games of all times. Who would say that mathematics is boring? Now, I'm not here to talk about mathematics, rather about education in general. So let me draw this back to education. For me, designing courses is pretty much like designing a complex puzzle for your students to solve. That's what we as professors have to do. Design complex puzzles for our students to solve. So let's try to go together, and I will create a puzzle and we'll solve it a bit together. Here is the puzzle. It's quite simple. You've got this box, 4 by 4 squares. And what I would like you to do is to cover it fully with these eye-shaped, just mathematical elements. Now, it's quite easy, and I'm using this as a metaphor for old school education. This I there, is me. When I was between 10 and 12, I fell in love with computer science. I thought this is what I want to do, and I'm still doing it. So it's no wonder that throughout high school, I did pretty much 3 things, right? Computers, basketball, and there's a third thing. My wife is in the audience, so But when I was 18 and thought about going to an actual university, the choice was very clear for me. I'm going to do computer science. I was super excited. I will finally reach my dreams, right? I will finally reach the stars. I consider stars as dreams, right? But there is a tension between dreams and actual reality. It always is, right? There's something called an intellectual limit, and that sometimes prevents us from reaching some of our dreams. And I was lucky in that sense that not many of my dreams were prevented by the intellectual limits. That's good. What really prevented many of my dreams was basically the form of education. I wanted to explore. I'm an explorer by nature. I want to try things out. And I couldn't because the courses were not done that way. And I wanted to socialize. I wanted to talk to people who were as passionate as I was about computer science, right? Who doesn't remember how you found your friends, right? Past high school, in university, and then they're your lifelong friends, right? I wanted to do this, but the courses were not designed this way. So I thought, well, that's fine. At least I can compete and achieve. But even there, the format of education failed me, because the courses were designed for a level that was too low. So I was trapped in a box. Yeah? It's me trapped in this box. I could not reach my dreams. The form of education was not good for that. What I find even more important is that even today, millions of students are trapped in this box. Yeah? There's this box and you cannot reach your dreams. And you can see that this is a very simple solution to the very simple puzzle. Just fill the box with every eye. All school education puts every student in the same box. I find this terrible. And I think we can do something about it. I know that we can do something about it. There are many things that we can do, but one thing in which I really believe is gamification. Now with gamification, you pretty much remove the box of the form of education by letting every student choose which path of advancement they want to take. They still get to reach their dreams, they still reach to these stars, they still learn all the skills, but now there is no box. Now the form of education actually helps. Now, I've been using gamification for over 5 years with good results in Bachelor of Science and Master of Science courses, and it really works. That's pretty much my message. So, I'm going to ask you a question. I hope the answer will be positive. Who wants to learn more about how to do it? Oh, that's great. As a reward, I will unlock some content for you. In this puzzle, you have to cover the same space, but now you can actually use more mathematical shapes. Yeah? So not just the I, but also the L and the Z. Because this is a more difficult puzzle, it may not be possible for you to both solve this mentally and follow what I'm saying. But this is good, because part of the way I'm actually teaching, part of gamification, remember, I want students, well, you are in this case the students, to choose their own path of advancement. So choose, do you want to solve this or to listen to me? Yeah? That's the core of gamification. You choose what you want to do. Now, to be able to get students actually excited about choosing and about their own path of advancement, there is of course the missing ingredient that the path of advancement actually needs to go somewhere, right? But for the path of advancement to be good for everyone, I have to actually start designing courses from the perfect student, so that everyone will find the course challenging and therefore interesting. So I design my courses for the student who will take a perfect 10, not for the basic minimum of the 6. I never start there. I start with the perfect student. Do you see the problem when starting with the perfect student? It's not a single perfect student. It's many different types of students. I've just told you that's the problem. If I only start with a single student, I'm putting everyone in the same box. So what can we do there? Well, we can actually focus on different types of students. And in my courses, I'm focusing on 4 personality types. In other courses, you could use, for instance, I don't know, Myers-Briggs taxonomy, so you could focus on 16, 32, whatever. 42, by the way, would be the perfect answer, and some of you may know why. But in my courses, I focus on 4. And I'm looking at whether students like to act or to interact, and whether students like to do things with other students, or they perhaps would just like to work with me, the professor. And in this different kind of students, in this group of different kinds of students, there is one that you may recognize. It's called the achiever, and it's the traditional student for which traditional courses are actually designed. These are the students who enjoy finishing every assignment given to them by the professor. Does this make sense? How would you actually support this kind of student type? What would you do? Yeah? Here is one approach. Just give them more to be done, so make the list longer, and if you have any item that you think, you know, I could make it go deeper, make it go deeper. Then the list becomes challenging and long, and they enjoy it. But there's a totally opposite kind of student who would prefer not being bound by the course. And that's the explorer. And explorers enjoy very much trying things that are really outside the boundaries of the course. And as a professor, it's difficult to figure out what they will particularly like. So what can you do best? Well, move away. Let them see what else is there. Give them open assignments. Yeah? Give them creative assignments. What else is there? Well, there are socializers. These are the students who are in the classroom because other people like them are in the classroom. So what they enjoy are exercises that require discussion, debate, yeah? Group study at home. And there's one last category that I'm catering to, and these are the winners. And winners are pretty much like achievers, but they like to beat not the lists that the professor gives them, but rather every other student. They're quite annoying, right? What can you do for them? Well, ladders, ranking, give them something to be challenged by relative to the other students. Now, because I really want you to get these 4 types of students, yeah, so achievers, explorers, socializers, and finally winners, I'm going to do a very little interactive part. So how many of you think that they are naturally more achievers. All right. How about explorers? Okay, even more. Socializers. Now, we're getting somewhere. And winners? Quite few, right? Well, I'm afraid that I have to tell you, after teaching in 7 countries by now, that in the Netherlands I have to explain that it's okay to be a winner. And it's particularly important because studies of online social games, from which my technique is derived, have shown that winners are keeping everyone in the classroom motivated, and they are particularly important for advancement. You can't do without them. Yeah, you can hate them, but you can't do without them. All right. Now, if you have all these types, what you want next is to actually reward in a balanced way every student type. So how can you do that? Well, in my scoring system, I first start with the perfect student. 10,000 points for a perfect 10. Why not just use the perfect 10? Why do I need the 10,000? Well, I call it the insurance against the zesjescultuur. It shows in many different studies that if you decouple the 2 grading systems, it's very good because mentally it becomes difficult to figure out what's the minimum thing that I need to do to barely pass. And students think about it in this way. If I have to work too hard to figure out what's the minimum thing that I have to do, and as in contrast I could just learn, well, maybe I should just learn. I have a second insurance for the cultuur van zesjes, which is perhaps the really powerful motivator. And I've told you about it. Let everyone choose their own path of advancement. How do I do that? I split many of the assignments into smaller chunks so that students can figure out what they like and choose whether they want to do that or the other thing. Some of the simpler assignments are things such as questions in the classroom, and you can get 50 points if you answer correctly. If you ask a good question that I haven't thought about it, that's pretty much what explorers would do, right? Then you also get 50 points. So that's also good. Yeah? Keep in mind that you don't get in my courses anything for free. You have to work for every point that you're earning there. So you have to start listening to your own heart. Are you afraid of failure? Then maybe you're going to work with the smaller assignments. Are you not? Then maybe you can try the most challenging assignment that I have. It's teamwork for 3 or 4 students, in which they need to design and create a computer game, even in the first quarter of the university. Yeah? And some of them actually get there. Some of them actually do it. Last but not least, I'm definitely using badges, and you've seen what unlocked content means. But I can tell you another good side of unlocked content. Only last week, I had 25 students in the classroom who were vying the whole course for the right to be part of extra lectures, who are not graded in any way, who are not requiring anything else than them to want to learn. 25 students who learn for the sake of learning in one of the most difficult courses in the curriculum. Extra relative to what they need to do. So, one of the points is that students choose their path of advancement, but the way the path of advancement is designed needs to combine all the things that I've told you about, but still requires an extra. Every course needs to figure out, every professor who designs a course needs to figure out how to design the complex puzzle that students are solving. This is the complex puzzle that my first year students have to solve. How to get from their natural state to the winning condition. So does it work? Well, of course it works. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. Our students pass more than with the traditional approaches, and they are much happier about their courses than with the traditional approaches. But equally important for me, our students do more than students that only take the traditional approaches. And we can see that their extra work, either as extra laboratory work, or extra activity in the classroom, or group study at home. Yeah, the holy grail, people working at home without too many checks and actually doing something. That's our students. And we've learned how to gamify, how to be better at using this technique over the years. And last year we had almost half of our students doing more, so extra work, relative to the traditional course. Yeah? So they pass more, they're happier, and they do more. And there's a bonus, because computer science doesn't sit still. Every year the courses that we're giving are tougher than the courses from the year before. And they still succeed more. Okay. I can tell you about so many things, so many excellent and for me heartwarming testimonials of students who loved the course topics, who felt so motivated and activated and pursued the topics of the course further. But what happens with the student that doesn't like the course topics? And of course in your education you will hit eventually this course that you really don't like. Here is a testimonial from a student who prior to gamification failed the course several times, and she really didn't like the course topic, and she was a really bad exam taker. But she discovered she was a socializer and finished this course not with a 6, but with a 7.5. Gamification really works. It really changed her life. So finally, let me just conclude. I hope it's clear for you that what professors do, in fact, is play Tetris. They just design courses like complex puzzles for you students to solve. And we've already created and solved, I hope, for many of you too. But if you want to do some ungraded assignment, you have 4 extra exercises at the end of the slide. So that's good. And I hope you also learned that gamification works. And it works because it lets you achieve your dreams while still getting an education and still getting all the skills you need. That's what I have to say. Thank you.